What's going on, everybody? Kalipa's Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, I'm going to be giving you some camera tips and tricks for the Cricket Ovation 2. Now, before we go any further, I do want to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. But with that being said, let's get into the video. Now, the first thing I want to show you is a quick way to access the camera. All you got to do is double tap the power key, and it's going to open right up. This feature is activated by default too, so you won't have to worry about changing anything in your settings. The next thing I want to show you is how to open the ultra-wide camera. This is a really useful feature, whether you're trying to take a picture of a large object or a group photo or some landscape or something like that. The list really goes on. There's so many different uses for this feature, and it's also really easy to activate. All you need to do is press this little circle right here, and it's going to turn on the ultra-wide camera. As you can see, it's a much wider angle, so you can capture a much bigger scene. When you're done with it, all you gotta do is hit this button one more time, and it's gonna turn it right back to normal. The next thing I'm gonna show you is how you can change the aspect ratio. This can be really useful if maybe you wanna get a 16:9 photo, so you don't have to worry about cropping it after the fact. All you gotta do is go up here, see this little square right here where it says 4:3. That is the default aspect ratio for pretty much every phone. And you're just gonna tap on this, and you can change it between 1:1, 16:9, and 4:3. It's nice that you can actually take square photos too, because not every phone has that option. The next thing I'm gonna show you is how to take a burst photo. Not that it's hard in other phones, but with this phone, it's actually a tiny bit easier to do it because you don't need to worry about any special gestures. All you gotta do is press and hold on the shutter, and it's gonna take the picture. If we go to our gallery, you'll see that it is in fact a burst photo, and you can go through and choose which actual shot you want to keep. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to mute the shutter button. By default, pretty much every phone has some sort of shutter noise, and in my opinion, it's really annoying, especially if you're taking a lot of photos, to have to hear that every time you're trying to take a picture. And if you're taking a picture in a public setting, it might be a little weird. So I'm going to show you how to mute it. We're going to go to settings. And right here, as you can see, the shutter sound is on. We're just gonna toggle this off, and now you won't have to worry about that shutter noise anymore. The next thing I'm gonna show you is how you can control the flash. By default, the flash is never actually on, but you can easily turn it on by hitting this little lightning bolt right here, and you can either put it to auto or always on. When it's always on, no matter what the lighting is, the flash is always gonna go off. But if we turn it to auto, it's only gonna go off in certain lighting, which is basically gonna optimize the use of the flash for whatever setting you're trying to take a picture in. In theory, it would sound like you would want it to be on auto all the time, but in reality, the sensor of a phone like this is only so good, and oftentimes, depending on the type of picture you're actually trying to take, it might not make sense to actually have the flash on, even if the phone thinks that it should be on. So I do suggest playing around with your flash settings and seeing which setting actually works best for you, because it's gonna be different for everybody on a case-by-case basis. The next thing I'm gonna show you is how you can mirror the front camera. Now, this is an interesting feature, and it can be a little bit confusing, but basically by default, when you take a selfie, the picture after you take it is gonna show up looking the opposite from what it does on the actual frame. But if you want it to look the same as it does on the frame, which I personally always like to do, you can turn on a setting to mirror the front camera. So when you take a selfie, what you see in the frame is actually what you get when you take the picture. So to do this, we're gonna go to settings, and simply toggle on mirror photos for front camera. Once you do this, every time you take a selfie, exactly what you see in the frame is exactly what you're gonna get from the actual picture. The next thing I'm gonna show you is how to turn HDR on and off. HDR is basically a feature that can enhance a picture in several different ways, but in my personal experience, sometimes HDR can make a picture look better, but on the other hand, sometimes it makes certain colors a little bit harder to see, so it really depends on the specific picture and what's in the scene. So if you ever wanna turn HDR on, all you gotta do is go up to this little icon right here, tap on HDR, and turn it on. And if you want to turn it off, simply do the same thing. The next thing I'm going to show you is how you can turn on the grid. Grids can be really useful for lining up a photo. If you want to center something or make sure it's level, it's definitely a feature you're going to want to know about. So we're going to go to settings and toggle on grid. Now when we go back to the frame, the grid lines are going to be here, and it's going to be a lot easier to make sure something's right in the center of the photo. When you're done with them and you want to turn it off, simply go right back to the settings and do the same thing. The last thing I'm going to show you is how you can turn on the timer. The front-facing camera is cool and all, but if you want to take a hands-free photo, maybe it's a group photo, a picture of yourself from farther away, so many different situations where it might be useful, all you gotta do is use the timer. To use the timer, tap on the little clock icon right here, and you're gonna have the choice between 3 seconds or 10 seconds. When you turn the timer on, it's gonna do a countdown before it actually takes the photo. It's a really useful feature, but be sure to turn it off when you're done with it, because it's not going to turn off by itself, and it's an easy thing to forget. But those were my camera tips and tricks for the Cricket Ovation 2. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you found this information useful as well. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video.